Hey, how's it going?
He's not happening in real life, but that's what he told someone. Hudson County View live on John Itis. So today, obviously, it's Holy Thursday and it's April Fool's Day, but in Hudson, of course, the only place in New Jersey, I would say, where the fact is more relevant and more interesting than the fiction. So, with that said, we're going to talk a little bit about the latest and greatest, as we do every week. And first of all, we're going to chat about what's happened last night between the Jersey City Board of Education and the City Council. Obviously, they met at the Hank Gallen Community Center part of Lincoln Park, and at the county-owned facility, the Wi-Fi did cooperate the way that a lot of people would have preferred. So we're going to talk to you a little bit about that. We're also going to talk about the 31st Legislative District, as we have for many weeks in a row here. Specifically, Assemblyman Nick Stravellani is going to be running off the line against William Sampson IV. And that is the preferred pick of Bayonne Mayor Jimmy Davis. So obviously we are going to get into the weeds there. We're also going to be speaking about a little bit in Hoboken. And we're also going to be joined by Jersey City Ward A Councilwoman Denise Ridley. So all that and maybe even a little more, we'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. Hudson County View live on John Itis, as I just mentioned a few moments ago. Today I'm joined with Jersey City Ward A Councilwoman Denise Ridley. Councilwoman, thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So let's talk a little bit about last night. Unfortunately, anyone who wasn't there really did get a clear picture of what happened at this joint meeting between the Board of Ed and the City Council. Obviously, school funding has been a topic for many years. And, things are starting to come to a head. The budgets are getting closer and closer to $1 billion. The state cuts are getting, closer and closer to $100 billion, and so on and so forth. But just tell us about the discussion between the trustees and the council members and how you think that conversation ended.
I think it ended on a really good note. It's been a long time coming. It's a meeting that should have happened years ago at this point. And I think that everybody that was at the table yesterday really cares about the kids. They understand that at this point, as I said at the last council meeting, we shouldn't be arguing with each other, but we need to band together to figure out how we're going to get the money for the kids and what we need to do at the state level to change the way that they're perceiving Jersey City and our kids and the money that they're taking away from our kids. So last night really felt good. It was nice to be able to sit down with the board trustees and for all of us to be on the same page and say we're going to try our best to figure this out.
So what do you think are the next steps? Are there any definitive plans yet?
Yes, we actually decided to form some subcommittees so that we can look at specific things. So we're forming 3 subcommittees, and we will divide it up with 3 members of the council on each committee, 3 members of the board on each committee, so that everybody's involved. And we're going to work from there. So one of the committees is legislative, another one is finance, and another one is operations. So that's where we decided to start, and we'll start having those committee meetings. We have another meeting planned for early May to get back together, all together again. And we just want to keep the lines of communication open and work on this problem together.
And you imagine the committees would be announced in May at that meeting or before that?
I imagine that we would announce those in May. We should have, those committees set by that time. So.
All right. Well, hopefully the internet's a little more cooperative then. But
I hope so.
But be that as it may, let's talk on this topic a little further. So last week when you were at the City Council, at the council meeting, I should say, the Liberty Science Center High School vote came up. You voted yes. After a long one, 6 hours or so. But nonetheless, the point is, you mentioned that you felt like the city gets dumped on a lot when we're talking about school funding, and you provided a pretty long comment prior to your vote. So just for those that may have missed it, just why did you think that project should move forward, and just to articulate what you thought was the reasoning there.
My main reason was parents, they want options. They want options. They want schools that are specialized at times. And they just want to be able to choose. So I think if we have an opportunity to give parents another choice, that we should definitely do that. Now, does that mean neglect our public school kids? Absolutely not. So while we are trying to find other avenues and we're embracing other avenues of education, we still have a job to do with our public schools. And I think that that's why it was important for us to meet last night, because we can't go off into this new project and not take care of our public schools. So my main reasoning for voting the way I did was because the parents, they want more options. And we have those emails and those calls from parents asking for more options. And yes, let's get together and work on our now the board has a different makeup, different leadership, and we're doing that. So, it's a long time coming, and it might be a little delayed, and this is a small start, but we're starting.
Okay, so you made the point of everyone coming together. Let's tackle Trenton as a team, group effort. So what do you think that looks like going forward?
For me, that looks like some of what we did last night was get some clarity, because I think a lot of people assume that the council understands the school budget and how the funding works and why they're missing funding. But there were a lot of things that a lot of us didn't understand. We're not familiar with that state formula. I've sat on the school board, but that's a Catholic school board, totally different set of arrangements. So those are things that we needed to understand, and by sitting together, we were able to get that clarity. So now we can see where we can fill it.
Very good. And the specific question I had about the payroll tax, is there any further clarity on what could be certified at this time?
I do not have an exact number. My understanding of the payroll tax is that the school is, we've made that commitment to give them $65 million each year. So this year's number, I do not know what that is exactly, but my understanding is that the past 2 years we have met that number.
All right, very good, Councilwoman. We're going to take a quick break from our sponsors, but don't worry, we'll be right back. Hudson County View Live and Uncut. John R. Hudson, and I'm still New Jersey City Board and Councilwoman Denise Ridley. So, we've heard from the school board trustees, and last thing on this topic, we've heard from them talking about, we think some businesses are deficient on their payroll tax payments. We want to see your books, and I know a resolution was passed. They're claiming they haven't got the paperwork yet, but conversely, they haven't opened up their books to you yet either, correct?
That is correct. We had a presentation last night by the board president, Musa, I believe, where he did provide graphs and a few numbers, but we have not officially dove into their budget. And I don't really understand at this point what the funding is being spent on, what their large line items are, so we haven't gotten to that point now.
All right, gotcha. So let's get into my favorite, the nitty-gritty politics.
Okay.
So, a little more than a year ago, February of 2020, you were with the mayor, and you said you were running for re-election, so that's pretty early. So why were you so confident? How were you so sure that this is what you wanted to do for another 4 years?
You know what it is? It seems like 4 years is a long time, but when you become a council person, there's no handbook, nobody leaves anything for you, so you're starting from scratch. So that first year, you're getting the hang of things, then you're learning how to communicate with different departments, how to write ordinances, and 4 years goes by really quickly. We've been able to lay the groundwork for a lot of good things in Ward A in those 4 years. There's a lot of new development coming. I started the Bayfront Redevelopment Advisory Board. I'm the chairwoman of that. I'm also a commissioner on CCRB. So there are a lot of things that we've started that I want to see move forward more and lay more groundwork for before I, step back. So I think it's important to have that continuity for those 8 years.
All right, and to that end, is there any projects that you'd like to spearhead, you'd like to lead forward, that maybe you haven't got a chance to get going yet?
Well, right now we're working over at University Place, which is across the street from Bayfront, down near Westside and Stegman in the NJCU area. We're working to get a supermarket there. We're working on a deal to get a shop right there. So that is what's currently on my radar moving forward, especially in these times during the pandemic. Residents need places where they can walk to and access food. And any new food options in especially areas that they consider quote unquote food desert is important. So I think the community really needs that, really wants that, and we need those other options.
Now, at the real deep insider baseball, I mentioned at the top of the program, and I'm sure you've been following at home, what's going on in the 31st Legislative District. Of course, your board is a part of that. And, you know firsthand what the power politics of that district can be like, right?
I've been there.
Yeah. So, when you heard this whole situation with the mayor kind of just unceremoniously getting rid of the assemblyman and the assemblyman coming back now and saying, I'm fighting this till the bitter end, what's your read on that situation? What's your take when you're looking at it from afar?
I understand the feeling that, people sometimes get a feeling like they've been pushed out and not wanting to be pushed out. So, I'm all for democracy, and I say if you want to run. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't think it's anything bad with the assemblyman saying that he's going to run anyway. If this is what he believes in and he wants to represent the people, then he should run. I had the opportunity to meet the new gentleman that's going to be on the line, and I think he's a great person as well. And I think that's what makes this whole process good and great, because you have the opportunity to choose, and there's nothing wrong with that.
So you have no preference, whoever should come out on top there?
No.
Okay.
Let the best man win.
All right, fair enough then. That's the way it should be. It used to be, but nonetheless. So when we're talking about that, just anything in particular that you're actually working with on the 31st, with your state legislators, perhaps with the Assemblywoman McKnight. Well, actually, let's talk about the CCRB. I think that's the perfect segue. So I know you and Councilman Solomon have been on this for months. The police unions have held this up a little bit. But could you tell us what's happening and where you're at and where you hope to be, for the coming month or two?
Well, what I hope to do is to have something on the agenda for next meeting. What the residents are looking for is something that says the city is committed to forming a CCRB with subpoena power once everything officially passes at the state level. And I don't think there's anything wrong with them looking for that confirmation from us. So what I would like to put on the next agenda is something saying just that, and saying that we are adhering to the current form of the bill, and any additional changes we have to make once the state passes, we will do that. But right now, I believe that the biggest issue amongst council people, police unions, community is figuring out the details of that. And some people feel like this current version of the ordinance has too much room, which I understand. They want to wait to see what the state does. But I think what they're looking for, the residents, is our commitment. So I think that we can all make that commitment and say that whether we outline the whole board right now or not, I think that the commitment is important, that this is something that we're committed to doing.
Very good, Councilwoman. Thanks for detailing that. And anything else before we call it a day?
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, you're welcome. Thank you. Jersey City Ward 8 Councilwoman Denise Ridley. We're going to take one more commercial break here. We'll be right back.
Minute 30.